All right, welcome back, everybody. Today's special guests, Pete and Ingrid from the ETC. They've kindly given up some time today to jump on and share their story and what's been happening over the last sort of few months and in their world of, a company that represents multiple brands and everything that's gone along with that. So welcome, guys, and no doubt, pretty well known in the industry. And there'll be a few people out there that know of you or know you very well. But for those that don't, how about you lead us in with a bit of a backstory, a bit of a journey into the game and what's led you to where you are today.
Cool. All right, I'll go first. Yep. So I'm Ingrid, obviously. So I'm the MD at Evolution Travel Collective, and my travel industry journey probably started about 15 years ago now. But probably before that, I guess 5 years before that was when I probably had first an interest in potentially joining the travel industry, was when I was an exchange student over in Denmark for a year with Rotary. So developed a passion for travel there, which is how most people decide that they want to be in the industry. Came back, went to uni, was doing a degree that was international studies, so again internationally related, and I was sort of like, well, what am I going to do after this? And so I decided to go to Jet Set Training College and do my Cert 3 as well through them in Melbourne. So did that and got a job at Flight Centre head office, splitting tickets in the dispatch department back when paper airline tickets were still around. So that was my first intro to the travel industry. And I did that for about 18 months. And then from there, I got my first full-time job at Rail Plus. So that was kind of where I really, I suppose, started my full-time travel industry career, and started in their call centre and then made my way into the sales and marketing team fairly quickly. And did a stint for about 5 years with them as a sort of part-time sales and marketing assistant coordinator and then assistant manager, but also BDM in Tassie. So that was how I first met Josh down in Tassie. So I loved my trips to Tassie. It was 5 weeks of the year where I could get out of the office and away from my desk, which was always a bonus. I took a year off work in there as well, went travelling around the world for a year and was very happy and to have a very good boss at the time who gave me the sabbatical, and I came back to my job afterwards, which was awesome. I don't think many people get that opportunity, so I was very grateful for that. And then ended up moving to Sydney. So got an opportunity with Rail Europe, who were the sort of 50% parent company at that stage with Rail Plus, and they needed a manager for the Australasian region, and it was based in Sydney. So I applied for the role, got it, and moved up there for 3 years. And that was really interesting because it's a completely different part of the industry to Melbourne. And I hadn't been, I guess, because I hadn't been in really senior roles in Melbourne either. So it was really my first real senior role in the travel industry. So being in Sydney, I came in a senior position and knew nobody at all. I had a couple of friends in the industry that I'd met at previous expos and conferences, but didn't really know anyone. So I had to kind of lean on those couple of people I knew and get them to introduce me to as many people as I possibly could. So I did the TIME program, Travel Industry Mentoring Experience, which helped enormously in my networking and getting a really good understanding of the industry and how I needed to position myself there and make the most of the opportunity I was given and all of that sort of stuff. Rail Europe then bought the other half of Rail Plus and asked me to move back to Melbourne as commercial director. So I made the move back to Melbourne and was involved in that sort of process for about 12 months, just that change management process and looking at the business and how they integrated and all that kind of thing. And then an opportunity came up with G Adventures. So I'd been working in rail by that stage for about almost 12 years and had never thought about, well, what product do I go to now? It's that fear of, is my skill set transferable? Can I actually sell something else? So the director of sales role came up and I took the leap and went over there, and it was fantastic. Brilliant business. Had an awesome time with the team there for about 12 months as well. But then Pete kind of poached me over to his side of things with Evolution Travel Collective when he was first getting it all going. And here I am, 18 months on, and we're trucking along. But we'll talk more about that later. So that's me. That's my story.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Pete, over to you. You've got a longer story than me.
Yeah, I won't.
How much time have we got?
I won't go like that. I'll get. Well, I suppose much the same in terms of what Ingrid was saying before. Took off overseas, did the big, world trip, and all the rest. It came back, thought that's fun. How to incorporate a little bit more of that into my work life. Went and did a travel course at Bill Healy down here in Melbourne. Finished that. Applied to work at Flight Centre twice, got knocked back twice. I might be the only person who ever got knocked back at Flight Centre, I'm not sure. But I have that joke with Screw when I see him. He's since asked me if I'd come and work with him. I said, no, you knocked me back twice.
Done your dash.
Almost 30 years ago, and I hold on to a grudge, Screw. So. But yeah, just got involved in retail and some call centre stuff with Holiday Hotline, RACV, then some retail, Japan Travel Bureau, Japan Airlines, doing some different roles with them. But jumped into a sales role probably around about 22, 23 years ago. And the last 20 years, 21 years has been in small group adventure touring, and it's probably the sector that I've enjoyed the most in that wholesaler tour operator side of things, but been in a myriad of different roles there. So I arrived as a BDM, then went into some account management by state, then by Australia, and then globally. Looked after the Flight Centre account actually for Peregrine Adventures. Then moved into a role as a brand manager for the Geckos brand, their budget brand at that stage. And then had an opportunity to join G Adventures as well. So I worked out at a different time to Ingrid, but I was asked to come on as their managing director. We had a really small team and got the opportunity to build a team and help build the brand out here in the APAC region, which was wonderful. Wonderful experience working with them also. And then worked as the regional director for Intrepid Group. So I was with them for about 4.5 years as well. So I've been really, really fortunate to work with a lot of great businesses, very talented people throughout all of those businesses, Peregrine, Intrepid and G Adventures in that small group adventure space. Really thankful for all of those opportunities. But out of all of that, there's always little bits and pieces of that you think, oh, if I was running my own business, I'd tweak this, or there might be an opportunity to do it that way, or that sort of thing. So took a year off, mental health year, I call it. Took off overseas, bit of traveling. What am I going to do next? And it always been playing around with a bit of a concept, which is a bit of a hybrid model, which is now what ETC is now in terms of a brand representation business, where we offer some services out to businesses within the region. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that later on. But started thinking about that, then started speaking to Ingrid about it and where it could go. Ingrid's got significant level of skill sets that I don't have, so it seemed like it would work really nicely together for a startup. So that's been going about 18, 19 months, 20 months. And in the middle of it, we find ourselves in the situation that we've got today. So full of challenges and different experiences and so forth, but wouldn't change it. It is what it is, and it's all learning, and we're certainly enjoying the challenge of the business and running that together. And
Pete, we were in Bangkok around D-Day, or someone said the other day there was PC and AC, pre-COVID and after COVID. And we happened to be there the weekend. The last conference that was ever, well, not ever, hopefully, but was able to go ahead, and we got back 7 hours after the quarantine laws came in, and we got stuck at home for 14 days in self-isolation. How's it all been for you sort of personally since then, and Ingrid as well? You know, how have you guys coped over the last sort of 3.5 months of this crazy world, and obviously being in Victoria as well? You know, there's a bit going on down there. How's it been for you guys personally?
Oh, you want to go first this time?
Well, I suppose, yeah, as you mentioned, Josh, we're up at the Travel Partners Conference, and I was lucky enough to be on a panel up there. And I remember we were all sort of talking about it a little bit. And I suppose, just to be completely honest, I wasn't an early adopter till it was going to be the size problem. It absolutely is on so many levels. You know, I was probably one of these people who was thinking, you know, it's another strain of flu, you know, and I was that oblivious to how things were early on, and how that has changed. But yeah, so we're up there, we're at the conference, and as you said, we all found out on the Sunday that our Prime Minister was shutting the doors, and we were going to be the first of enforced lock-ins by the time we get back. So 14 days in self-isolation, of which I did take very, very seriously, and followed all the protocols. But at that time, we were looking to move out of our place and actually had bought a new place. So I'd only just got out of lockdown isolation in enough time for us to move everything from one place to our new place.
It was the same day, actually.
Yeah.
His first day out of self-isolation was our moving day, and that was also the day that they locked everybody down. So we literally did it all.
So we went from self-isolation into state lockdown, trying to coordinate what that meant for the business, trying to move house and all the rest of it. So in many respects, was kept very, very busy in the early stages of that, and didn't really have time to reflect on that. You know, things were changing so quickly. Updates were changing so quickly. Our need to work with our team, communicate to our team, our partners, retailers, and all of that was all changing so quickly that the first month sort of just shot by in terms of isolation and being in the lockdown and what that looked like. So yeah, I suppose it just moved so quickly in that first month, and changed and evolved so quickly in that first month that I had so much going on. I didn't really have time to fully comprehend what was happening for that first month.
Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, we were kept fairly busy. Like, was when we obviously moved into a new house and had to unpack all boxes. So that was probably a good thing because it was a good distraction. So unpacking, setting up in a new place, and we then decided to adopt 2 cats. So, you know, that's always an exciting thing to do when you're sitting at home.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 rescue cats that are 6 and 4 years old, and they're very cute. They've kept us entertained over the last couple of months since we got them. So that's been nice. It's good to have those little positive things, and I think that's probably for me. I mean, as you know, as negative as everything that's going on work-wise is, I have felt like I've been in a really positive place personally throughout this time. Like, I felt like every day for me when we were in isolation felt like it was going for a million years. But then I'd look back at the weeks and they disappeared. And I was like, what did we do for 2 whole months that we were literally not allowed to basically leave the house except to shop and exercise? Like, what were we actually doing that whole time? But we filled in the days. So it's interesting how, I don't know, it's just interesting how it makes you feel. Like, you do at the time feel like every day's dragging, and you look back at it and it's flown by. So I guess between, you know, trying to keep up with some work stuff as well as, you know, settling into a new house, having the cats, binging on a bit of Netflix. We got into cooking, which neither of us have ever been really big on, which is probably a good thing for both of us. Yeah, we use a lot of recipes, but we're actually quite enjoying it, to be honest. We've been doing a bit of the dual cooking thing, haven't we, together throughout this time, and that was never something for either of us before.
It has put it in the red wine collection.
Oh yeah, this is true too. Yeah.
And you mentioned obviously the work side of things and having to maintain that. How's things with the team at ETC, and from obviously a pretty early days in the startup and in the business, in the big scheme of things. How have you guys been affected from that side of thing, as far as like JobKeeper, reduced days? What's going on in that space?
Yeah, it's been a really challenging time, Josh. I think there's no doubt that I've said this before to people. I've actually found this period the most emotionally challenging, I suppose, that I've had to work through. We've got a fantastic small team. There's another 5 BDMs that work with Ingrid and I. So it's a really small team. So we're really close and really engaged with each other and so forth. So when you're going through a challenging time like this, although you've got a really good relationship where you can be really open, really honest, really transparent, and it's two-way communication that happens, which is great. There's a really deep emotional level to it and a really personal level to it, which has been really challenging for everybody in the group. Unfortunately, our business is set up in representing other businesses, and we get paid to represent those other businesses. So if those other businesses are not making bookings, or we can't supply services of representation, marketing, trade PR, and so forth back to those businesses that are our partners, then we have no revenue generation. You have no revenue generation, well, quite simply, there's no way that you can pay your staff. So our staff are on JobKeeper. We stood down our staff on the 1st of April.
Yeah. Basically in line with the whole lockdown period. You can't go and see agents. As a BDM, obviously being the primary role was to see agents, and everyone was in lockdown. So, and nobody's looking to book because the borders had literally just closed. So it was obviously for that time period it made sense. In terms of the work that needed to be done. Most of the work was really about communication between our partners in the retail head offices and us, and looking at that. So I think that the key with that is that you have to you had to just keep up that communication level between those two parties, and that was, I guess, what Pete and my job was. After our BDM team was stood down, was really to just keep that engagement, both between, what was going on with our partners we represent, getting that information to our retail head office partners, and then also helping agents who needed that extra assistance and will be reaching out to us during that time. So, yeah.
And I think from that also, Josh, that you've got, as I said, with the team and all the rest of it, we've got an obligation right there to make sure that they're looked after as well, their health and well-being and that sort of thing through this stage. And, keeping the communication going with that team and discussing what we can actually do over this period and what they need, and looking at opportunities and different things throughout this period as well. So really, really important that you look after your team at the same time, that you just don't, turn everything off and walk away and hope that things are okay. I think as leaders of our business, it was really important for us to at least have that opportunity there for our team to engage at a level that they needed or required at any given stage.
And Friday night drinks every week has helped.
Yeah.
There's a running theme here. With obviously, let us know which brands you guys represent for those out there that don't know, and also and with that as well, if you could maybe just give us a bit of an idea of what it's really been like to have to kind of represent multiple brands and different terms and conditions and things changing, not just one company, but across the board. How's all of that been?
Yeah, so we've got a number of brands that we've represented over the last 18 months period. And we sort of represent them in different facets for different brands. So some of them are customer facing with our BDM team, and others are more behind the scenes and consultancy work that we do with people as well. So we've got Exodus Travels and Trek America. We've got Dragman. We've done work with 50 Degrees North and North Journeys, which has more recently come to the forefront, obviously, for people late last year, really grown in their business as well. High Tours, which is a subcontinent DMC that we do some work with as well. Trip Fuser, which is a platform and tailor-made booking platform, which we do work with as well. The Visa Machine we've also done some work for. So we've got a number of different partners. Yeah, we did some work with Lisa at Good Compass back when the business first started. So yeah, so we've got quite a few different people that we work with. But in terms of managing the T's and C's during this time, I guess what I said before is probably still valid in terms of it's just communication, I think, for us. So it's kind of getting that information from each of our partners and making sure that we could provide it to our retail head office partners in the most timely and effective manner, and making sure, you know, that they had the right information on their website, that their reservations teams were contacting agents who had bookings and letting them know what the conditions were, and then we were there as a kind of backup, I think, for agents if they needed any additional support in that. So that's kind of how we worked it. It wasn't, to be honest, I don't think it was complicated to manage from our perspective. It's really just keeping the open lines of communication going both ways. And I think that was key for us, both at a retail head office level and with our brand partners that we represent. So as long as we had that open communication and we're on top of that and didn't just, you know, disappear into the ether, I mean, I think that's the worst thing possible. You know, obviously with a lot of people still down in the industry, I think there's a lot of extra additional workloads that less people are now doing more people's work, right? Because people can't afford to have people on. So I think the communication is really key for our business and what we've been able to do over the last couple of months with that.
And obviously, the kind of, you know, agents would be listening to that themselves and thinking, you know, they've been doing pretty much the same, you know, in a sense, you know, as representing, you know, multiple brands and, you know, on behalf of their customers, you know, in the cancellations and refunds and having to go through, you know, multiple changes of policies with airlines and, you know, updates. And, you know, first of all, it was, you know, end of April, then it was the end of May, and then it's the end of July, and now it's the end of 2020 for some, and all of those things, and a lot of challenges through that. And you know, there's people out there that are having to deal with a lot of this stuff, you know, possibly working from home, you know, by themselves, not being able to work in a team. Communication has been key for a lot of those people and businesses to be able to manage their way through it. And I'm glad that you guys, you know, were able to do that well with obviously some good communication systems. But Pete, what I probably would like to hear a little bit more from you, from your side of things, just because I know that you are quite passionate about it, is that mental health side of things that we will probably see even probably ongoing for some time is how people have really probably, you know, felt some feelings that they may not have felt before due to circumstances that have now been put on them, whether that's working from home, now isolated, you know, individual, or just being laid on so many different things that they've had to deal with and so many updates and changes and just things that were outside of their control, you know, and having to deal with that. How do you think that, you know, that agents, you know, have been through this period, and what are some of the things from your experience that people should be maybe considering and thinking about, whether it's themselves individually or maybe leaders that are listening as well, that are really key things to be talking about right now and thinking about right now to make sure that, you know, everybody, you know, comes through this as best as possible?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, one of the things that is a positive that is coming out of this time, and people are having the discussion, Josh, and like even now, you know, yourself are highlighting it. It's great that discussion's happening. I think it's starting to happen in society more and more. We're starting to see that, but within our industry that has borne the brunt of a lot of this. I know we've had, you know, discussions before where there's a lot of people outside of the industry that just would not have any understanding of the pressure and stress that everybody within the industry has felt. But point of sale travel agents and owners of their own businesses and so forth, you know, the amount of stress and pressure that they would be under is really, really difficult for anyone external to the industry to understand. So the fact that there's more conversation going on about it, that's a great thing. That's a good thing, because then people can hopefully find the support that they need and require. You know, for myself personally, for many, many years, I didn't take my mental health challenges seriously. And it's something that, you know, I eventually had to just confront and own and take steps to do better in trying to manage. And that's been incredibly important through this period of time. I think that because a couple of years ago I started to take steps in the right direction of looking after my mental health, being aware of certain triggers that would then, you know, manifest himself in poor behaviours, poor decisions, and that sort of thing. That right now, having gone through some of those learnings and processes, it's allowed me to be in a better position to deal with some of the challenges that we've been faced both personally and professionally at this time. Has every day been great for me? Absolutely not. There's been some really challenging days. But being able to manage that a little better with things that I've learned and the support network of a lot of people within the travel industry actually has been a blessing. So for me, it's just a couple of little things that I do that help me through that period. Without going into a massive amount of detail, I wrote a little bit of an article in one of the trade press publications that was carried on recently, so I can flick you the link for that too. But for me, it was just about understanding some of those triggers for me and making sure that I implemented some things that put me in the best possible environment, the best possible opportunity to work through those. So set some goals for myself so I felt like I had achieved something for the day rather than get into this groundhog of sitting home, going down the rabbit hole of feeling really depressed about things and about the activities and stress that you'd been over through that day. So just breaking it down a little bit, setting little goals, little achievements. And when you've achieved those things, make sure you celebrate the wins. You know, that might be a glass of red or a dinner, you know, a nice dinner, or, you know, whatever it might be, just a little, you know, some pretty good chocolate out there at the moment, whatever it might be, just, you know, celebrate the wins, but also taking ownership of the things that you didn't achieve. And that isn't to make yourself feel bad, but just own it and acknowledge it and make sure that you keep yourself motivated to try and achieve those things. And, you know, there's some of the things that we've been talking to our team about as well, you know, sort of who are stuck at home, and, you know, what opportunities have they got to achieve little things, some little development opportunities, that sort of thing. Don't waste the time and get inside your own head about how challenging this is. You know, give yourself the opportunity to achieve some things and celebrate those wins along the way. So there have been just some of the things that I've been utilising throughout this period of time, and just being more aware of where I'm at that time, and then just basic good health: get up, exercise, eat well, don't drink too much. All of those sorts of things, they sound really basic, but they really do give you the best opportunity to be in the best environment, the best headspace to deal with some of the stresses that we're all facing today.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I'd be, you know, lying if I wasn't, you know, in some of those spaces myself, you know, some days. And I have found, you know, that seeing the opportunities and taking them when they're there, saying yes as much as possible. Doing this stuff, you know, this is basically proof of that. And you know, we didn't start out to get to this point, but it evolved through just saying yes, and just seeing the opportunity and just moving forward, and seeing the opportunity and moving forward. Because that really, for me, that's what it feels like. It's just, sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it's still moving forward. And as long as there's more steps forward than backwards, then, you know, you just celebrate those wins, acknowledge the shitty days, and just keep on moving on. So,
Can I just add to that, Josh? Also, I mentioned it briefly there, but the travel industry as a whole, you know, such a supportive network. I think we've seen that through this time. Everyone's been trying to support each other as best they can. And around this particular space, you know, I have had so many wonderful conversations with people out there who have offered support, but also been looking for support. So if anyone's out there and they are struggling a little bit, just reach out, you know, just reach out, have a chat to somebody, because this industry as a whole, I think, has been amazing in that particular element. There's so many wonderful people who, even though they are going through a really difficult stage at the moment themselves, so many people are willing to give so much of themselves at the moment. So anyone out there, my contact details will be there as well at the end of this. If anyone needs to chat about anything, just a chinwag, maybe, you know, some help and support, I'd be very, very happy to you know, get on the end of a phone, Zoom or something like that, and have a chat to anyone who's struggling with those sorts of things at the moment. Yeah, it's just there.
And look, we really appreciate, you know, your honesty with all of that, Pete, and someone as well respected as you in the industry has been around for as long as you have, and you know, and achieved what you have, to be able to be vulnerable and to be able to be open and honest about that. I think for me personally, what I see sometimes a bit of fear around, you know, sort of letting yourself become that vulnerable person and letting people in, because I think I don't know if it's just me, probably just me, but, you know, as far as the industry is concerned, is people are always looking for sort of a bit of a brightness of future, or maybe that next gig, or that next job, or that next step up the ladder, or even to their customers if they're an agent, you know, and the fear around being open and honest and vulnerable and saying things aren't that great. Maybe that they're thinking, well, you know, maybe they'll look bad, you know, against me, or people look down on me, and I'm not as rock solid as I could be, and maybe that's gonna hinder my opportunities, you know, moving forward. And I think that's probably where, you know, we need to come together as an industry and acknowledge the people that are doing it, and celebrate the people that are doing it, and having those open and honest conversations, and it not to be something that's only said over a beer, you know, in the corner somewhere, or in a corridor somewhere. You know, it's open, and it is what it is. It's a shit situation that we're all going through at the moment. And if anybody's, you know, afraid to acknowledge that, then don't be, because, you know, everybody's having tough days.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you, Josh.
We all are. So, and I guess on that side of things, you know, we know that focusing on the things that we can control, focusing on what's in front of us and moving forward, and taking those opportunities. From a travel agent's perspective, you know, both of you've been in the industry for a long period of time and seen a lot of great travel agents. What do you think agents, both professionally and personally, could be doing, you know, at this time, you know, to get themselves ready for the other side, and get themselves ready for the new industry as we move towards it? What's some of the advice that you've got for them to really, you know, tangibly focus on some key strategies sort of moving forward?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, you know, a site like what you've built here, Josh, I think is perfect, and a couple of other people, you know, Charlie at Destination Webinars is doing a brilliant job as well. Education pieces for agents, you know, obviously we're in the business of education, being you know, representation company, and all about our BDM and our team there talking to travel agents. So we're a B2B business. So I think for travel agents right now, the best thing they can do is ensure that their expertise is as good as it possibly can be. It's coming out of this is going to be about expertise and knowledge for agents, and they already have a huge knowledge base, but make sure that you know everything you can, and if you do have downtime right now, use it wisely. You know, if you can't, I mean, you've done everything you can in terms of your books and your financials and your refunds and your cancellations, and you know there's no money coming in right now, but use your time wisely. So if you can use it to educate yourself on products that you don't know a lot about, or destinations you don't know a lot about, so you are ready for when things do bounce back, I think that's a really important thing that agents can do right now. And it might sometimes feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. And I know, you know, even I have days like that. you know, when Victoria was announcing it's going backwards and half the suburbs around us are now in lockdown again, it's kind of hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But you have to, like you guys were just saying, you have to keep one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. So I think education is a great way for agents to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think this moment is about opportunity. You know, I talk about what we can take from this time rather than what it's taking from us. And I think that there's opportunity out there for self-development, for people, or reaching out to people within their organisation for development and development opportunities. I know some of the things that we've been doing is that we've put those out there to our team, and our team is coming back to us and saying, yeah, look, here, we've got some time to do some professional self-development, or we've got some time to work on our business, or that sort of thing. Now, they don't have to do that at all, but they're using this time as an opportunity to have a look at those sorts of things in a professional sense and a personal sense, but in a professional sense of how they can use this time to get something from it rather than feel like it's always taking from them. You know, I always say to the team, hope is not a strategy. So, you know, don't sit there and hope that something's going to fall in your lap as we start to come out of this. Go and take it. Go and use the opportunity to develop yourself, or reach out to your managers to help get some development. There's plenty of great courses. I know, you know, talking to Cassie the other day at Cornerstone People Solutions, I've done a lot of work with Cass and the team there. They're awesome. So what could they do? You know, look for ways that you can use this time to take from it, not sit and wait for that, would be my advice to people, and sort of how we've been framing a little bit of our time during this time when we've had a little bit more time to work on the business, not just in it.
And I think every time you achieve something that's small,
Yeah.
whether that's a small online course, or, you know, you picked up the phone and you spoke to somebody and you got some real value out of that conversation, they're those wins that you were kind of talking about before.
Yeah.
Where you finish your day, when you sit down and you've eaten your dinner and you've got the glass of wine or not, preferably not, more often than not, and you can tick that off. You know, that's a win. You know, I completed that today. I did this today. I made that phone call. I reached out to that person. I feel like I've moved forward more than backwards. So anything that can be kind of in a proactive sense, I believe, is key to achieving those small wins, which is key to achieving, you know, a better standard of mental health and most likely physical health as well as you move forward.
And future opportunity, you know, how you're positioning yourself, you know, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if it's the agent wanting to be the agent that they want to be on the other side of this, you know, then who is it you want to be? What do you want to be known for? And how, what are you going to work towards, you know, getting to that point? So it's good advice, and it's stuff that we've been talking about a lot on these calls. And it's great to hear from people like yourselves that, you know, fully living it, you know, every day, which is great to see. Is there anything else that we haven't really touched on that you think, you know, we should sort of add, or anything that's in the back of the mind that thought agents should really want to hear out there?
What do you think?
No, not that we haven't touched on there.
Yeah. I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Look at us being awesome.
I mean, we've been busy in the background. You know, any agents that keep an eye out. We're building an ETC agent community at the moment, so we will have more on that soon in terms of just getting out some more information for our brand that we represent. So we'll have a Facebook page and Instagram page and that sort of thing. So EDM and everything. So yeah, we're building that at the moment. So as Pete said, just working on the business, not in the business. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll drop a ton of links down for people to find out what's going on in the ETC world, and that article that you mentioned, and a few other bits and bobs on how they can connect and interact with you guys. But before we let you go, obviously a huge amount of value you've contributed to the group today, and by jumping on. Is there someone else or a couple other people that you could think of that you'd like to nominate to jump on and share their story and add just as much value as you guys have?
I will nominate a good friend of mine in the industry down here in Melbourne, Sharon Vanderbeeken. So she works for Roomrest as one of their BDMs. And they're a fantastic hotel platform, actually. So reasonably new in the market in terms of really pushing into that agent world, and they do a really good job. I think it's a fantastic platform. So I think she'd have a lot of good things to say, and someone that you should have a chat with.
Cool.
And I think I'll nominate Glenise Johnson, Josh. She's my ex-MD at Peregrine Adventures, where I was there for 10 years and progressed through. She was continues to be a mentor of mine, actually. Is a wonderful leader, owns her own business now called Wandering the World. Fantastic walking business. She's a previous finalist of the Telstra Businesswoman of the Year award. One of the great female leaders in our industry. So I think she'd be really interesting for all your listeners to have a listen to her journey and story as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll tag them both in and hopefully they can find some time to jump on and share their story as well. But as I said before, guys, huge amount of value added today for the group, for me personally, and I'm sure everybody else watching also. So thank you, and I look very much forward to catching up on the other side. Maybe take you up on one of those bottles of red that you might have left over in your collection.
When Queensland lets us in.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Be good.
Thanks
Take
very
care.
much.
Talk soon. See ya.